Food products. They don't just fall from the sky into your restaurant. They have to be sourced and purchased. They have to be received. And they have to be stored. All of this has to happen before food prepping, cooking, holding, and serving can take place. In this course, we'll look at managing product, what it means, some standards and recommendations around how to do it, and why it's so important. Because when it comes to food product, you'll find that all the little details can add up to a really great restaurant. The flow of food refers to the way food moves through your restaurant. It includes the purchase of approved products from approved sources, receiving and storage, as well as prepping, cooking, holding, and serving. Controlling the process at each step in the flow of food can help to minimize food safety risks. Where you purchase products is important. Keep in mind that all food, food packaging, chemicals, and supplies must be sourced from the DCP, Dean Foods, and approved suppliers. Pasteurized grade A 2% milk, bananas, oranges, ground cinnamon, certain approved whole cookies, candies, and nuts related to an approved recipe build may be purchased locally. Product specifications and any brand name requirements must be met. The supplier or quality assurance team can provide you with information about approved vendors. A large part of food safety is ensuring that the products entering the restaurant meet food safety requirements. Check food for appropriate temperatures and log them. Remember to check product expiration dates and don't accept expired products. Inspect packaging for leaks, tears, soggy cardboard, ice crystals, or discoloration that could indicate possible spoilage and temperature abuse. Check for dented or swollen cans. Inspect for gnawed packaging, leaking packages, bugs, or pest feces that could indicate pest infestation. Also, inspect the delivery truck for unsanitary conditions, evidence of pest infestation, broken glass, or leaking walls or doors. Be watchful for any evidence of cross-contamination and check for bad odors. Don't accept questionable items and report any unsanitary conditions to your distributor. When Dunkin' Brands Quality Assurance approves night deliveries, packages must be inspected and observations and temperatures recorded first thing in the morning. Once a product is received, its safety becomes your responsibility. Check all incoming products carefully. The way you store products is another important part of managing products in the restaurant. Click on each image to learn more about storage. To prevent contamination, do store raw or ready-to-cook foods on bottom shelves below ready-to-eat foods. Refer to the Food Safety System Manual, Time and Temperature section for a list of RTC and RTE foods. Make sure that racks and carriers have a solid surface on the bottom to prevent splash and dirt from coming in contact with food. Always store packaging properly to prevent contamination. You can also limit contamination by not storing anything under leaking or sweating pipes, condensate lines such as steam pipes, or pans. Don't cross-contaminate products such as a known allergen product with a non-allergen product. And never store food, food packaging, or equipment in the restaurant restroom, locker areas, or mechanical rooms. An important food storage guideline to remember is store off the floor. Store food and food packaging at least 6 inches off the floor. If a water hose is used to clean the floors, food and food packaging must be at least 12 inches off the floor. And donut carriers without wheels must be stored, staged, and transported at least 6 inches off of the floor to prevent contamination of food from the floor and debris, as well as to eliminate food sources for pests. You can store milk and bottled beverages in beverage crates directly on the floor, as long as they are rotated and the floor underneath is regularly cleaned. Remember that empty beverage crates are not approved for use as shelving or for storage of anything other than milk and bottled beverages. Covering food products can help keep contaminants out and freshness in. Do seal or cover tightly all food products. Do cover bakery or delivery racks with a solid pan or approved food-grade plastic bags. Do use only approved containers and utensils from approved vendors in your restaurant, including commercial food-grade containers designed for storage, repeated use, and repeated washing, rinsing, sanitizing, and air drying. Do face scoop handles away from food. Do arrange unwrapped knives, forks, and spoons so that when they are picked up, only the handles are touched. And do use dedicated ice scoops with handles. Don't use packaging for storing, preparing, or dispensing food or utensils. Don't wash, rinse, sanitize, or air dry single-use packaging, or reuse. Don't use Gladware, Tupperware, or other home-use brands as they are not commercial grade and are not approved for restaurant or repeated use. Don't use single-use items to serve food. Properly dating products in your restaurant is an important part of food safety. Date and use all food products within the code date. Shelf life labels provide an easy and effective way to properly date items throughout the flow of food. If a product contains dating on the outer case only, the code date must be transferred to the individual units or product holding containers once the case has been opened. Most food products have expiration dates. Some have Julian dates, which are more difficult to read because they include a 3-digit code that represents a date based on the calendar day. This example reads 22:5306-201. 01 is the year. 62 is the day of the year. And 22:53 is military time, 10:53 p.m. The expiration date on this item is March 3, 2001 at 10:53 p.m. Use all products within specified shelf life. Shelf life for an unopened product is generally printed on the outer packaging. For the shelf life of open foods that must be redated, please refer to the most recent shelf life grid for each brand. If you're unable to identify a product code or expiration date, call the Dunkin' Brands Incident and Quality Helpline, 1-800-444-1890 for assistance. Restaurants located outside the U.S. and Canada may need to call a different number designated by your licensee. Once opened, refrigerated products must be redated with the appropriate opened or prepared expiration date. Products removed from the freezer and portioned out to thaw must be marked with both the thaw date and the final use-by date. After a product is placed in an in-use container, it must be redated with the appropriate opened or prepared expiration date. For example, dry toppings placed into ready-to-use pans must be appropriately labeled and discarded after 7 days. Properly labeling food can help prevent cross-contamination of product and help minimize allergen cross-contamination. Food that has been removed from its original container must be relabeled. Refer to the Allergen Control course labeling section for more information. Your restaurant may sell retail merchandise if it complies with the Dunkin' Brands promotional products policy and comes from an approved source. This policy is in place because non-food items can pose a food safety risk. For example, items intended for children may have small parts that could be a choking hazard. Items that come into contact with food and beverages may include banned substances, such as lead and other heavy metals that constitute health risks. It's necessary to know and follow all brand standards in the quality assurance policy related to managing non-food products. The franchisee, licensee, or their management is responsible for communicating this policy to all employees. In order to minimize the risk of food being tampered with in your restaurant, it's recommended that you install the following safeguards. Click on each image to learn more. It's recommended that you do the following. Assign responsibility for security to supervisory individuals. Promote food security awareness to encourage staff to be alert to any signs of tampering or malicious, criminal, or terrorist activity. Alert law enforcement and public health authorities about any threats or suspicion of tampering. Facilities recommendations include the following. Never grant an unknown individual or anyone unable to show appropriate ID access to your restaurant food preparation, back service, or storage areas. Don't prop open back doors. Monitor public areas, including entrances to public restrooms, for unusual activities. Provide adequate interior and exterior lighting. In addition to requiring that all foods and chemicals are purchased from Dunkin' Brands approved sources, the following operations guidelines are recommended. Ensure that all delivery vehicles are appropriately secured and supervise the offloading of deliveries. Reconcile the delivered goods against the receiving form, bill of lading, or invoice. Inspect all incoming products for signs of tampering, contamination, or damage. Reject any suspect food. The following provides an example of a conversation between a manager and a crew member to demonstrate some suggested practices for coaching.
Brian, can we talk for a couple of minutes?
Sure. Something wrong, Chris?
I noticed the other day when I drove in that the back door to the restaurant was propped open while you were outside picking up the parking lot and disposing of trash.
I thought it would be okay, since I was only going to be out there a little while. If the door's propped open, it makes it easier to go in and out when I'm carrying trash bags.
The back door can never be left open, not even for a few minutes. We want to prevent any strangers or unauthorized people from getting into the restaurant. Not only could they get access to any cash on the premises, they could tamper with or contaminate food products, and that could result in a threat to guest safety.
I never thought about it that way. Somebody could just slip in when I'm on the other side of the building, and I might not even see them.
From now on, be sure to close the restaurant back door securely, even if you'll only be outside for a few seconds. Better safe than sorry.
For sure.
Now that we've covered managing product, take a moment to check your knowledge.